When someone feels neglected, misinterpreted, denigrated, or assaulted in a relationship, it is toxic. When human psychological, emotional, or even biological well-being is under threat throughout a relationship, it is also toxic. Fundamentally, any element of a relationship that causes one to feel miserable over time instead of feeling better might be toxic. Any setting, including the workplace, the bedroom, and the playground, can foster toxic interactions. Even unhealthy connections among family members may be a distinct deterrent. Toxic relationships are those that one or both partners treat as harmful, yet for some reason, just can't manage to fix or end. Even when things are going well, either of the partners is on edge, anticipating when the next disagreement will arise since it seems like every conversation is rife with conflict and criticism. Relationships can be poisonous for a variety of different reasons. The term toxic describes how one or more of the partner's resentments, talks, digs, or criticisms are injurious. They generally occur when partners are not fully accepting their duties and responsibilities. An assaulting partner typically tries to coerce, manipulate, or control the other individual into doing what he wants, and when unsuccessful, he gets irate, manipulative, and vindictive. Since everyone in a toxic relationship feels disempowered and believes that he is not obtaining what he wants owing to the other person, unhappiness is certain. Nobody gains in such a toxic workplace, yet changing or leaving seems challenging. A toxic relationship will frequently progress from angry and aggressive comments to real physical abuse. It can be tough to leave when there is a pattern of love or passionate reconciliation following the abuse. Because the abuse is equivalent to or greater than passionate reconciliation, a challenging dynamic element arises in which each individual is persistently addicted to a toxic loop of replay to continue and give it another go. The only way to break the cycle of violence and hatred is for each person to understand his role in the relationship and discover the precise reasons why he is addicted, and it is frequently the case to such an awful loop. Childhood role models have an impact on an individual's ability to form healthy, fulfilling relationships, and for many kids, physical and verbal maltreatment is the routine, making these connections more predictable as they stay on a well-known road. It is possible to break out from such a dynamic phase, but it takes a lot of work from the individual. In the long run, however, it is beneficial to lead a better lifestyle and prevent transferring these patterns of relationships to children. One of the simplest indicators is when the partner verbally assaults the other in the presence of the masses, whether they are loved ones or family members. The lover will claim to love one, but his irresponsible behavior contradicts that. People may frequently live in continual terror that someone is spying on them and may even go as far as to read or view their details. In extremely toxic relationships, the partner will try to completely enslave the other by accompanying him to his destinations or withholding money until the other asks for it. Instead of staying true to themselves, people can discover that toxic people are continually trying to modify aspects of others to please them. Over time, the thought of putting effort into the relationship could even make others feel sick. How do people get into these harmful situations? Nobody wants to be around someone who could hurt them emotionally or perhaps even physically. The toxic relationship follows a cycle, just like all other partnerships. Everything starts smoothly, and then the toxic person creates an excuse to blow up, allowing a makeup phase. However, the pattern keeps repeating itself. Usually, the honeymoon period extends for so long that one finds oneself deeply attracted to a toxic person with what seems to be no way out. Individuals in toxic relationships frequently come from similar households. Without a shift in behavior, they often repeat what they saw as children. It can also lead to a negative self-perception and the mindset that people only deserve destructive relationships. The development of toxic actions into a pattern of caring for other people is another danger. The first step in deciding to move on will be to cognitively re-evaluate the relationship and realize to have a choice. The self-esteem plummets, and the innocent person runs the danger of experiencing severe depression due to the toxic routines. One needs to choose to begin defending oneself. The toxic partner will make an effort to blame the innocent for everything. People get to choose how long they want to continue in a toxic relationship because time does not stop for either men or women. Only the victim knows if a relationship's negative aspects exceed its positive ones. But it's probably a toxic relationship if someone continuously jeopardizes human safety through words, actions, or inaction. To restore and heal a relationship, both partners must cooperate. Both partners should decide that if the relationship lasts to be toxic, all are willing to cut the link off. If people decide that in advance, they might never be able to stop the destructive cycle. The only way out of toxic relationships is an objective look. Denial will spoil everything. What lies in wait there? Imagine the possibilities if people could picture themselves in a happy relationship. Check self-behavior to see if any toxic habits might be affecting the connection. Do individuals employ passive aggression? They can be reluctant to express their feelings yet end up exploding as a result of doing so. Do they frequently feel exhausted in the relationship or guilty about offering too much? Given that humans are innately habitual beings, taking a close look at past romantic relationships can reveal a lot about human preferences. What about one, if he had a history of hurtful relationships, makes him drawn to toxic people? Sometimes it's important to look back at the family history to discover how human attachment and relationship styles developed. The human tendency to make unhealthy decisions or tend to gravitate toward unhealthy people may often be traced back to how dysfunctional the family was. The decision to exit a toxic relationship is always beneficial. It's a first step in the direction of breaking the cycle of devastation, suffering, and worthlessness. Besides, it's great if people put them in writing so they can see them. They should list any benefits they perceive from remaining in toxic relationships. When it's all written down, it's harder to hide from oneself. Often an individual can avoid handling the toxic relationship by burying the truth of it in the recesses of the human mind. People should try utilizing these tricks of the trade and watch what outcome they can generate. They should continue with more constructive ideas and solutions for breaking up a toxic relationship. Cognitive therapy can be what every addict needs if he has realized that he has been in an abusive situation or has several dysfunctional patterns. There are various phases of a toxic relationship. The honeymoon phase is the first stage, followed by an honest behavior phase that advances to the third phase, the blow-up phase, and finally, the reconciliation phase. If things continued as they were, these phases would likely repeat and develop into a rhythm or pattern. The honeymoon period is when one first encounters a toxic partner. Every effort will be made to keep one interested in the relationship until one becomes trapped. At that juncture, ending the connection becomes difficult. Why do people initially become toxic? One explanation for this is that a large number of individuals were raised in households where toxic relationships had a dominant pattern. This template was adopted by them as the best one. They could also be incompetent. Others discover that they must look after the community to avoid catastrophic failures. A few people may feel that they are not entitled to have happy lives. Why would any reasonable person engage in a loving relationship with a recurrent toxic partner when narcissists are so unpleasant to be around? People who remain in these relationships frequently exhibit low self-esteem or are depressed. Toxic relationships can be ended, but the first step is realizing that people deserve and have better possibilities. When people become aware of their options, the next thing to do is to defend their interests. The toxic partners keep blaming everyone for everything that goes wrong in toxic relationships. If they become successful in their motives, they will be trapped and unable to end the relationship or establish new rules that will allow them